So today we are going to be going over Voruna. And Jesus Christ, I have my work cut out for me today. Let's get one thing straight. This frame is incredibly fun. Super fun. Ticks all of the checkboxes of what a DPS frame needs to hit. And yes, this is a DPS frame. However, there is also quite a few things that make this frame a little tedious and confusing. This frame is going to be the hardest frame to comprehend that I've gone over yet on this series. However, I absolutely love Voruna. So much so that she is one of the only frames that I went out and got a skin for, which her skin is also absolutely lovely. Let's start with her playstyle. She is the first of a playstyle I will call hit and run. A lot of DPS frames are very upfront with how they handle their damage. Excalibur says sword go burr. Ember says flames go burr. Goss says speed go burr. You're getting the point. She is the first DPS class frame to not have something go burr. She is good at going in with what is known in other games as a burst window and then falling back until her next burst window. I will hereby call this hit and run, as you are hitting as much as you can and then running away until you can start hitting again. This takes a little bit of getting used to, just as stance weaving, equipment management, cooldown, uptime management are all things that are very important to her. So is managing her burst window. If you're using her in a regular mission, the burst window won't really apply. However, in something like Eidolons, it does matter quite a bit. So let's start off by going over her passive, which she has 4 of. Okay, so Voruna passive states, Voruna never fights alone. In missions, hold abilities to call upon each wolf's unique passive power. This says nothing for what they do. However, in the ability, it explains it. This tooltip has no need to be here, but whatever, I guess. I'm going to go over her passives for each ability as I go over the ability, because they will make a little bit more sense if I go over the ability with them. Shroud of Dinar is her first ability, which I'm going to simplify this essay. Activating this ability will make Voruna invisible and move faster until she attacks, and for a short time after she attacks. The invisibility will end on her first attack and she will gain bonus melee crit status, and her melees will cause a bleed whether or not they apply a slash proc. Melee killing an enemy will extend the duration, but that can only happen once per cast. However, the extension is pretty nice, so if you want to build for that, you can. Holding this ability will activate Dinar's passive, granting you parkour velocity, basically making you have increased MS, but only while in the air or sliding or bullet jumping, things like that. This ability is the only stealth in the game that perma breaks if you melee or shoot, even with a silenced weapon, so keep that in mind while you're making a loadout. One thing to note, this stealth will not break if you use her 2 or her 4. Fangs of Raksh is less of an essay and much more to the point. You activate it to apply 5 random status effects at 10 stacks immediately. And upon death, the enemy will spread them to nearby enemies. Holding this ability will activate Raksh, guarding Voruna and making her status effect resistant. And do you want to know what that means? That doesn't mean resistant, that means fucking immune. There have been times where I've revived people in a mission while standing in the Energy Leech Eximus magnetic field and just not realized it. Times where I've eaten a Blitz Eximus ability and just not realized Arson Eximus mean nothing to her with this passive activated. This is her strongest passive, and I want that to be noted as she has a fucking revive in her kit. We'll get to that soon, but understand how strong this passive is. Eximus got a rework that were supposed to make them incredulously strong, and this completely shuts that, and you no longer have to worry about it. I commonly switch between Dinar and Raksh whenever I'm in a mission, because Dinar allows me to move incredibly quickly throughout the mission, and if I see an Eximus that I know I'm not going to be able to get to before they use their ability, I will quickly switch to Raksh and that will make it so whatever the Eximus hits me with does absolutely nothing, and it is amazing. Lyceth's Hunt will activate to grant you a buff that says enemies killed by melee drop health orbs, and if they are killed by headshots, they will drop energy orbs. You can increase its duration by killing an enemy afflicted by 5 or more status effects, and funny enough, that gives her synergy with her 2, as her 2 will apply 5 status effects. I like that. It's not bad. It's a pretty cool synergy. Its activated passive makes Lycath take a turn guarding you and grant you heavy attack efficiency. What does that mean? Heavy attack efficiency is simply when you heavy attack, it'll consume less of your combo. A lot of people don't know that when you heavy attack, it consumes part of your combo, but it does, and this will make it consume less. It's a useful trait, especially since this is very clearly a melee-oriented frame. However, it's buggy with gunblades, which are the main melee that I use, so I practically never use this effect. Finally, we come to Ulfrun's Descent, her 4th ability. This drops Voruna on all 4s, and if I know my Rule 34 artists, that's just how they like her. This causes her to prepare 5 leap attacks that deal damage to a single target and in an area applying slash. If the target is killed, multiply the damage, and it stacks. Now, this ability has some nutty damage, however, it inherits melee damage, which is not listed anywhere, including the wiki, as the time of recording, and I discovered on my own that this means if you just slap a strong-ass melee item on it, you will be incredibly overpowered. Holding this will give Ulfrun a chance to guard her, and as Ulfrun is viewed as the strongest wolf, it will prevent her next death and set this on a 60-second cooldown. This is the only head with a cooldown, as none of the other ones do, causing you to make head weaving a little difficult. Voruna has no augments at the time of recording, and from what I've gathered, her playstyle is one I've affectionately nicknamed Foreplay, as that's your primary ability that you'll be using, and I did not call it this for any other reason. Use your 1 at the start of a mission and then press 4, and then you're good to go. Just start nomming on people. However, it does have a problem if you have a gun equipped. You have to be very careful, as any bullet will break your stealth. I usually run a melee only build for this, and to make sure that I last hit with the 4th bite. It does deal so much damage that until you're in Steel Path, you will just one-shot things. However, try to stay away from your heavy units, your, Grineer heavy gunners, your bombards, things like that, until you're at your 3rd stack. Energy is sort of an issue with her, so I run Xenuric Bubbles to help mitigate that. And if I were to propose 2 augments for her, one augment would simply state, when you activate her 4, instead of it causing, you just consume an amount of energy, and then you have 5 shots, make it consume no energy in a similar vein to an Ember ultimate, and then make it so that every lunge will consume energy. However, the multiplication will not go up as rapidly, have it increase by 0.5 per shot. What this will do is it'll make it so the scaling is still pretty strong, but it'll make it so you don't need to keep reactivating the ability after 5 bites. I know they don't intend for this to be the playstyle, however, people that do find this playstyle enjoyable, such as myself, would find it a lot easier to just activate the ability and then be able to just bite. Then maybe if you're worried about the damage getting too high, you could have it cancel after it reaches a times 11, like the current passive does automatically. Hello, this is Editing Navari, realizing that I said 2 augments that I wanted to propose, and I only proposed 1 because I got a little sidetracked with the writing of the script, and I kind of forgot that I said 2, and even while I was reading it, I forgot that I said 2, because I'm a fucking idiot. So the other augment that I was going to propose, because it's one that I talked about with one of my friends, is an augment where instead of making her 3rd head give you heavy attack efficiency, have it give you heavy attack wind-up speed. What that'll do is that'll make it so that your heavy attacks will be slightly less efficient, but your wind-up speed will be really strong. Again, sorry for being an idiot and not explaining that. Back to the video. Generally speaking, this frame is incredible. It is super good damage, super good survivability with the stealth. There's not much for utility for the rest of your team, but as a DPS class, you don't really need to have utility for the rest of your team. I would like to thank you all for watching, and hopefully I will see you all in the next video.